Welcome back, subscribers, and welcome new viewers. This is number 17 viewer request for the nodes of the moon, and it is North node in the 6th house, South node in the 12th. There we go. Couldn't get that out. All right, and for those of you who don't know what the nodes of the moon are, it is each and every one of our personal work. That's the South node. The North node is the blessing that you receive once you properly work through that South node of the moon. And for each and every one of us, this levels the playing field for everyone because we all have a South node. And it is given to us at birth, the same time when we are being birthed, because it has to do with the energies of the planets, and the nodes of the moon has to do with, I don't know the technical, so I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to say anything that says what that is, but it has to do with the energies, and just like the planets at the time of our birth. And that's how you get your natal wheel, and that's how you get the nodes of the moon. And the nodes of the moon, specifically the South node, goes into our subconscious. So it is a program. It is a past memory, whether you want to consider that reincarnation or familial. It is a memory that is familiar. And so you automatically start doing that program because it makes us feel like if we do life a certain way, then we're going to receive what we need and want out of life. But again, it's our South node. And so our South node, it doesn't work. So you just keep cycling until you can bring that out into your conscious awareness to do something about it and free yourself because it's a blockage. Okay, so let's get into this. Okay, and again, this is sixth house North node. I can't talk today. 12th house South node. Okay. This individual spends most of his time in deep thought. He likes to be left alone so that, uninterrupted by others, he can let his inner reflections sift through the karmic memories of all his past incarnations. This is not to say that he doesn't like company or that he's even aware of what he's doing. The fact is that he goes so deep as to become totally oblivious to anything he is thinking about. He loses himself in himself. And I also want to say too, because this is given, our South node is given to each and every one of us at birth, there is no blame and there is no judgment. And there's no blame on self or anyone else. So no guilt either, because this is what we were going to do. Each and every one of us do cycle. It just depends on how many times do you cycle before you become aware that you even have this program. Okay. Always, the conscious reason for going inward is based on logical intention, but the individual tends to reach the point where all logic eludes him. The Neptunian subtlety of the depths he reaches remains a mystery even to him. And they're talking about Neptune because Neptune is the natural planet of Pisces and the 12th house. Because Pisces in the 12th house, that's the natural house of Pisces. And this is the South node. One of the greatest problems is that while he stays inside himself, he is preventing others from stabilizing his mental journeys. As a result, he accumulates enormous past life fears, having no idea whether they are real or imagined, or just a compressed collection of the mental scenery on his inward journeys. Still, the basis of his outward life is built on fear and imagination, and regardless of how strong the rest of the chart is, he keeps having moments of not being able to find confidence in himself. He is a lot like the turtle, constantly peeking out of his shell. People close to him see his life as a tendency to avoid all that seems real. He spends most of his time watching others from behind a see-through mirror. Ultimately, he becomes, ultimately, he comes to believe that the rest of the world is viewing him with the same scrutiny. There is a latent paranoia built into this nodal position. And again, this is something you were born with. In areas of work, he is an unusually poor organizer, leaving many scattered ends behind him and always feeling that there are not enough hours in the day to complete his chores. His problem is that he doesn't know how to budget his time, and as a result, he is constantly trying to catch up to the present. Much like a rabbit with the clock in Alice in Wonderland, he keeps throwing himself into the position of having to rush to avoid being late. Part of his life will at one time be involved with hospitals, institutions, or organizations which demand him to structure his ways. And again, that's said because the South Node is Pisces in the 12th house. And the 12th house and Pisces has to do with institutions and hospitals, incarceration. Okay. He needs this in order to come out of his inner self. The big karmic lesson is for him to learn responsibility instead of feeling sorry for all the woes that seem to beset him. More than any other house in the zodiac, he cries at the slightest hurt, either real or imagined. Sometimes the crying is inward, but always it is there, for on the very deepest levels he feels that the love he has to give goes unnoticed and unappreciated. Because he thinks this way, he becomes his own creator of gloom. And woe to the person who tries to pull him out, for then he will have a receptive ear for all the past life hurts, fears, and worries he has not yet even verbalized. Underneath all else, he is a bottomless well of fretting, with not enough deep faith in the positive outcome of events. He must work on building trust so that he can have the strength to come out of his shell. Once he does, he is one of the most compassionate, beautiful, and useful people in the zodiac. His 6th house, North Node, gives him great pleasure in helping others, but he cannot do this well until he realizes and accepts the fact that in this incarnation he has chosen a life of sacrifice. He must learn how to organize his thoughts, his work, and his diet, for he is a natural-born healer, capable of defying the limits of practical medicine with his own more mystical methods of curing. But a talent is not a talent until it is developed. And an individual is no more than he thinks he is. And again, that's your north node. North node in the 6th house. The 6th house is the natural house of Virgo. Health, service, healing. That's beautiful. Ultimately, he will come to learn that his greatest gift is faith, but he will work long and hard to reach that awareness. Part of the current life will be spent nursing or coping with physical or mental illness, either in himself or others close to him. His major growth occurs when he realizes that all illness is no more than a disharmony in the body, reflecting disharmony in the thought. Something inside himself is constantly trying to tell him this, and he must learn not to allow his past life fears to block what is now being opened for him. I just am feeling the need to restate that, reread that paragraph. Part of the current life will be spent nursing or coping with physical or mental illness, either in himself or others close to him. His major growth occurs when he realizes that all illness is no more than a disharmony in the body, reflecting disharmony in thought. Something inside himself is constantly trying to tell him this, and he must learn not to allow his past life fears to block what is now being opened for him. Many with these nodes go through experiences of illnesses that miraculously disappear. To the amazement of medical doctors, dentists, and other professional practitioners, the karmic lesson here is to learn the higher reason why. For as soon as understanding is reached, the newborn faith starts to heal. Once he becomes aware of the power of his faith, he becomes a veritable dynamo. Okay, right. I am led to say that thoughts are things. And that's a quote, not from me, but from Dr. Joe Dispenza. Thoughts are things. So you might want to look that up, Dr. Joe Dispenza, if you haven't already heard of him and his writings. As he builds in more positive thought currents, he automatically learns not to criticize others for the lack of perfection he sees in them. His outlook on life remains clinical, scrutinizing and diagnosing all he comes in contact with. Of all the nodal positions, this is the most difficult one to open up to past incarnations. The 12th house south node has completed a karmic path, the details of which are to remain forever sealed in past times, even though the subtle Akashic essence still remains. Lifetimes of escaping from inner torment have been completed. The individual must come to realize that most of his inner negativity is not related to the current life, but only exists through his continuing to think along a track which is already ended. Very powerful, very powerful. Wow. He still has inner feelings of being persecuted, which he must learn to bury once and for all, for the more he allows himself to dwell in such thoughts, the more he will inadvertently recreate such circumstances. He should learn to realize the past for exactly what it is, no more than a memory, and no more real than a photograph in his mind, which he now has the free choice. There's the key. You, because you're listening now, you now have the free choice of holding on to for the sake of its misery, or discarding so that he may step out into a productive new world. Let me read that once more. He should learn to realize the past for exactly what it is, no more than a memory, and no more real than a photograph in his mind, which he now has the free choice of holding on to for the sake of his misery, or discarding so that he may step out into a productive new world. Once he can put his entire state of consciousness into a positive and productive outlook on life, he will be able to start experiencing a new meaning to his existence. How wonderfully beautiful. The sign which contains the South Node shows the ways in which the individual blocks his current life advancement by withdrawing into karma he has already completed. The sign which contains the North Node indicates the ways in which he can now develop a fruitful life through service. How beautiful is that? Well, that is all I have for you. And those of you who would like me to send you a written copy of what I just read, let me know. Send me a comment and leave me your email address, or send me an email and I will absolutely do that. Okay, until next time.